Hello and welcome to CMFXPRO. We're going to do a quick addition showing our indicator on the M5. It's about lunchtime in New York session. So this is going to show you the highs and lows of the session on M5. Conditions if you want to make money hourly, I recommend following H1, M15, M5 conditions for your entry. H1 trend conditions and then M5 for your entry. If the trend is disrespected on H1, then follow through and go into exhaustion in line with new trend that's established. Okay, so let's continue. Please stop and read. By continuing, you are accepting these terms. Okay, so USD Chef, we're just going to start right out in. A low exhaustion established with a safety entry area here. So you could have easily got in there at 97, 92. Barely 10 pips drawdown, and it rose up to the day range high, where high exhaustion is easily noticed on the M5, and that's easily 30 pips. Right here, oh, what are we at? Okay, maybe 15 pips. But obviously this high exhaustion was established at the Asia session. It ranged quite nicely up into sideways motion into London. So this was a previous exhaustion, and guess what it did from there? Followed trend off of Asia session high, day range high hit, and you immediately had this high exhaustion here and a nice drop to follow back in line. Look at this 5-minute dot here. Okay, on the 5-minute, I've noticed it for intraday trading. If you don't have a lot of time and you just want to make some hourly money or whatever off of one session at a time, you can see these conditions pretty nicely on the M5, obviously. So yeah, obviously 800 is going down. The trend was established off of here, off of this condition here. So you got to drop. Let's see, I know if we go back over here and look at that. Beautiful M off the M5. Price was at August 20th was sitting at 96.65. So if you took that M off of the H1 conditions of trend direction, here's an M off M5. Nice entry in line with trend. I mean, you really could have, if you held in and stayed in for quite a while, that's a nice swing entry off of the M5. We now have a trend break. I tried to pull out on low exhaustion and it broke trend, reaching back to the support of the following through the trend direction. So once again, price is still dropping off of this, even though it had a small pullback to the 50. Trying to chop traders on this daily low range, but if you notice, there was no safety except right here. So we'll see if price lines up with this previous low exhaustion, see how it holds. But I easily would have had no problem getting out my first sign of exhaustion. Obviously that's about 60 pips or more for 98.08 to, yeah, nice 50 pips, easy on 5-minute execution of exhaustion levels that are in line with beat the market maker or market maker method, combined with some conditions and data that I applied extra for price action in relation to similar movements in the market that are very habit forming. So let's continue. GU had this nice low exhaustion safety entry out of London session. Yep, it's a nice London session entry off of the 800. Very strong conditions. Exhaustion, safety entry, 800 hit, back in line with trend. And you had this high exhaustion here at M5, immediate drop. So right there, 28.64, almost 70 pips or so. And then you got this drop at 29.30. back to the blueberry, another 60 pips or so. Real easy, guys. Nice, easy 100 pips between both sessions off M5 conditions, staying in line with trend off H1. Look at this. There's your trend. It's your pullback. You can take both on M5. You can take both conditions very easily. Your counter trend position, back in line trend condition, and then another counter trend. So that way, off of the M5, you'll gain the earliest entry for the break of trend off H1 if it continues or if it wants to drop. Really nice stuff. Very basic, typical principles of Beat the Market Maker of staying in line for your change of trend off of higher time frames and your early entries on lower time frames. Basically, if you wanted to trade weekly, you would basically choose the day 1 H4 and H1 conditions, or you could trade your H4, H1, M15 and use your H1 as your trend line condition. If you wanted to trade just monthly swing trading, I would actually choose the weekly, daily, and H4, and your trend line would be off of the day 1 conditions. And you still would like to get an entry off the 3 time frames you choose on a lower time frame, obviously. You always want the tightest entry possible in line with the trend change. Okay, let's see. Euro USD, again, Asia session, exhaustion. Hit day range low, barely hit it, but you had your safety established, ID safety right here, and nice pull out. Very nice. It's about 68 pips or so. It made it from here. Well, probably more than that. 70, 33. Yeah, about 70 pips out of London session off the 5-minute time frame. Crazy stuff. Look how easy this is. Even if you entered your conditions here, 1129, okay, less than 10 pips drawdown. So make another re-entry at, you know, every 5 pips if you wanted to. UJ is a kind of a slow-moving pair on the pip range. So I would have probably made two re-entries in from the previous burst exhaustion on this. And then you can see that hit the top of the trend line here, pretty much dropped right straight clean to the 800 and the support of the trend, and then it bounced back up to hit trend direction again. So, and then it came back down again. So that was a nice setup off H1 conditions to take that exhaustion that is actually in line with the trend. If you notice, the exhaustion that's not in line with the overall trend direction is not that much pips. I mean, you definitely could have made some, but you always want to take the exhaustion at any time frame that's in line with the higher time frame trends. Okay? All right, let's continue. US CAD. Okay, we had this low exhaustion here, came to the high exhaustion against a day range high hit, 200 hit, in line with trend, 800's coming down, 200's coming down. I mean, it don't get no better than this. It really don't. You get in here, take your profit out here, let the consolidation happen. The exhaustion was created right there, and drops down, hits day range low. Let's see if there's a, it's not really a safety entry, but it has broke trend again to fall back in line. This was a counter trend. Small exhaustion hit on a trap of the day range low area. Came up somewhat nicely. 20 pips, 25 pips or so. A little bit more than that, actually. About 30 pips. But we're very close to the weekly range low. So I would like to see it surpass the day range low. And if you're going to look for any directions to reverse, it'd be in this area and maybe a little bit below it. Depends on how far the monthly is below it. That's quite a ways away, actually. So it might drop another level before it hits this. So you just got to wait for the market to present to you the exhaustion that gets you to where price really wants to go, more or less. Excuse me. USD. We had some high exhaustion. Close of New York, and it followed through conditions. It met up to high on Asia session with the previous high exhaustion of New York close condition. And right down here, against 800, take your profit. Right up here, take your profit from, if you wanted to enter here, as you do have an arrow, exhaustion, safety entry, take it to this exhaustion, and just pretty much wait for the rest of the conditions to follow through and breaking this trend line here. This red line is what we're waiting for, to see if it's going to follow through with previous exhaustion, or it's going to follow through the many hits that it's done to stay in line with trend off of H1, which is bullish, obviously. Very nice. Okay. Euro Great Britain. Look at this. Nice high exhaustion, day range high hit. We're just sitting there, getting trapped in between trend range on the M5. Euro Great Britain has been rising quite nicely as a fast push up today to day range high. But we're not that far away from weekly and monthly, so we got to be cautious to see if this is just going to provide a pullback down to the supportive trend and continue to rise, is what we're waiting on right now. Euro CAD, again, a lot of overextended exhaustion on the M5, so it doesn't, oh, here's the M5, my bad. Okay, so what do we got here? We've got a solid trend direction. We had some exhaustion here, and it provided a pullback to the 200, and you could have taken this easily, knowing that how strong the trend is. The 50 to 200 locked over the 800. I definitely wouldn't dare risk a sell beyond the 200. Obviously, you get back in line and take your profit out to the next high exhaustion. Wait till it resettles back in line with the 200, and here we have high exhaustion here. Conditions looks like it's trying to break the trend either way. If it takes a downward motion or gets back in line and continues to rise. We're not that far from the daily range high hit, 20 pips, so it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Let's see. M15, same conditions, a lot of overextended exhaustion. This is creating a zone of resistance. If this goes above anymore, like tries to reach the weekly high, then this is basically, because I like to see a nice push up, not really consolidate right here and drop. But if this breaks the trend support of this red line or the 50, there could be a possibility of reversal. You always have to wait to see what they present to you in line with your technical analysis and your trading plan. Okay, let's get back to Euro Chef. We have a lot of ID50 bounces. This is your high exhaustion established. It's been really hitting off that level as a support, dropping down to the 800 on this one. Most of the time it dropped down on the 200 only. Right now it dropped directly down off of the 800. Nice safety entry. We do have a lot of ID50, 50-50 bounce returns back to the 50 and back to the male. So without any exhaustion established here, really, with the ranging, you probably could spot it on the 1 minute if you want to trade the 1 minute and 5 minute to be more in line with quick in and out trades. Let's see what we got. Okay, that's not bad. Look at that. Low exhaustion on the range. Back here, high exhaustion, get out. ID 50, get it, take it out, or whatever. You got your high exhaustion here. Now you're up against this support of the trend direction change. If it breaks through here, you can pretty much stay in line with this. But when it hit that, I actually would just take the profit. Actually, right here, I would have taken the profit off of this ID50 symbol, or even right here, these fingers. That's still a decent profit. 1440, 1424, not bad. Working off to M1, I mean, it's pretty good conditions. Let's see here. Okay, so we had some high exhaustion out of New York session. Did reach above it a little bit. We're above monthly range high. So it's trying to gradually work its way through and up to change momentum of trend. But if this is the basic condition of trend, it's following pretty nicely. Obviously, the 5 and the 50 and the 200 EMA are over the 800, so that's a strong indication of continuation. One overextended exhaustion right past a very strong bullish trend that started back on this monthly low hit, and as you see, we have the exhaustion, we have the entry, ID50 bounce back with the meetup of previous low exhaustion. Typical beat the market maker method. This is your exhaustion for your first push down of your leg of W. Comes back, has confluence with the 50 EMA, which you want to see always. 9 times out of 10, it's not just going to break out of here and bust through, unless it's fundamental news related, whatnot. It just had a confluence area, very typical. Came back down, met this low. It basically is trapping both sides in this direction here, and then it just takes price away, because obviously it's a very strong downtrend. So most people thought that price was sitting here, or if they were in a sell up here in line with trend, they came down here and they thought it would just bust through this zone. Well, they got fooled and taken out, and price immediately left that area. Most likely won't return for a while. Let's see. Great Britain Chef. Okay, we had day range low hit. We had support of trend area hit. Over here we had some high exhaustion. I mean a low exhaustion with a safety. It did provide some nice pips off of that area. This was your hits to the 800 yesterday. Low high exhaustion. Retest to the same area, and this was. I mean, you could have entered and that exhaustion at 2644. You had a drawdown of less than 9 pips. Everybody, 9 pips drawdown. Okay, 2652. Let's just say you go to this exhaustion. That's just one dot. I wouldn't really. I'd probably close 50% of the trade, move your stop loss to break even, and just let the rest just risk-free ride. So, real easy conditions when you have a very strong trading plan. Very minimum drawdown. Okay, let's see. Look at that beautiful ID50 on the 800 on the M5. So we had some high exhaustion here. It stopped out right here. This gap is not too wide on the 50. It's not a fast push up move like this or like this. How it creates this big gap. And everything's obviously well above the 800 off of this previous bounce of trend support. And you had the 50 cross the 200, and everything's over the 800. So I would never take something like that unless it provided a nice big push to trap long traders before a drop. I like to see a lot more gap between the 50 and the 13 EMA. It's not enough push for me. It provided some small pips, but we're not here for small pips. Pips like this is fine. A lot more spread. Did do a fast push up right here. Very nice. High exhaustion. Look at this nice W off the 800. Low exhaustion on the left leg. ID safety on the right leg. This could actually be another re-entry. And price never touches this area for a very long time. This is August 22nd, on this entry. And you also had, look at that, beautiful. Really trapped the traders nicely as they brought this across the 800, the 50, and the 200. That was an immediate sign of a trap before price took off from that area. It's very nice. Very similar in this conditions, like a big vector move. You had ID safety conditions, ID 50 pointing up, or 50-50 bounce, and look at that, bullish, bullish, bullish. It's probably on a New York Open, very close, half hour before, or 5 minutes, or yeah, half hour before New York Open. Trapped at New York Open along the range of the 800, came down, retest, and came back up again. A lot of trapping. Okay, let's carry on. Let's see what we got here. We had some high exhaustion here. Pretty much just bouncing across the 800 or 200, bouncing across 50 cross up to 200 on H1. Everything's riding off this previous low exhaustion at a monthly low range hit. Exhaustion, finger, ID 50, matched up previous low exhaustion. Had your confluence with your water to trap both sides. Our opportunities, understanding the beat the market maker method, are exactly this. The push, the traps, hits a support range level. They are getting traders excited to change direction. As it hits this level that people look for, they take them up, they take them out, and they think they're going to bust through the support this way, and they just take price away from them. Pretty simple. Okay, all New Zealand off the H1, very nice and clean. I'm sure these conditions show some high exhaustion with the finger areas on the M15. Let's see, low exhaustion here. We got that high exhaustion here where those fingers were on the M15. Very simple. Let's cut it down to the M5. Look at this. High exhaustion comes down to the 800 right directly after opening. And another ID 50 matchup with the previous high exhaustion, and price just drops rock bottom from there today. That's a nice 90977. Nice 50 pips. Nice, yep, 977. 40 something pips. Very nice. Off the 5-minute time frame. Okay. So what are we up against here? We had that high exhaustion a couple days ago. Really just ranged, met up with that high exhaustion area as a zone. Right here, M off the 50 on the M5. No exhaustion established on that. Okay. And so it follows in line with trend off of this exhaustion meetup. Drops right down to here. So easy conditions. Let's see, odd shop. Had some nice easy in and outs across the exhaustion. High exhaustion. Met back up with high exhaustion the following session. Really just trapped in line, but it stayed true to this previously established exhaustion until you got to here. I would have taken trade out here. Probably would have closed 50% here at the 800. Move stop loss to entry, or maybe 10 pips below. Entry would be just fine. And then take your profit here, as you got this in your symbol, ID safety entry at London session, and then it came back up and tested this zone right here, and then immediately dropped from there. I'm sure if you mark this, you're going to see that on the M1, possibly, maybe not. You got that high exhaustion here for the day. Oh, look at that. Remember where we marked that? High exhaustion, M1. Enter. No low exhaustion. No low exhaustion. Got low exhaustion here. So I would have closed 50%. Move stop loss to more than the entry. And I probably would have re-entered a condition off of this, because notice when you have the exhaustion and you have this return, there's really no safety after this second leg or whatever you want to call it, pullback. Even though it does a nice rise, but it falls back in line with trend. There's no safety. That means price will return back to this area without a safety symbol. And it's exactly what it does. Okay, there's your low exhaustion there. Everything keeps hitting the 800 if you noticed. And now we have a breakup trend on the M1 to continue going down. Probably will hit this area here for support and see if it changes. It's going to create a nice gap if it does between the 13 and the 50. And obviously 50 will get stretched far from the 200. Simple. Look at that nice break on the M5 of the trend. Following through. Very nice. I'll jab. Got some nice ranging conditions here off of M5. Let's see. High exhaustion, drop, ID, 50. Big vector move. Confluences with the 50. Close to the 800 hits. And I definitely would have re-entered and take this nice teacup shape. High exhaustion here. You could have taken it out on a London session or just take it out on obviously now you broke trend again on M5. Jab jab. Day range high hit. Look at this nice low exhaustion against the 800. You got the finger pointing up and ID safety and another confirmation of a bullish finger right here, right here, right here. And it just takes off. You got a small trap of counter trend trade conditions, touches day range low, immediately takes off from this area. Immediately. Back in line with trend. 800 hit, day range low hit, the following early session right after gap time, just tight, takes off. We're in a very tight condition of a trend condition change. If it just breaks this, might retest and match this exhaustion of high and see what it does. Euro New Zealand, pretty simple. The exhaustion of the counter trend conditions. We got these hits to the 800 right here, right here, right here. Let's see. Okay. We got this long pin bar. Probably came off of direct news, I'm going to imagine. Look at all these low exhaustion, high. ID 50. Low exhaustion. Okay. Let's continue. We got a break of trend on 5 minutes. Hitting support level. Either continue to rise or fall beyond this zone. We do have previous high exhaustion with a safety. So we'll see what direction it decides to take. EuroCAD. Look at this. Beautiful exhaustion, safety, direct rise, and direct fall. Finger, exhaustion, finger, exhaustion. I definitely would have gotten in line for a sell just because of the momentum of push in general. That's obviously a very nice drop. And this is what it looks like on the M15. Low of London, reversal of New York, and back to a pullback out of, well, actually, yeah, that's New York reversal, London open, anchor. Very nice. Touches the support trend off of this condition. Now it's creating a new trend. Keeps bouncing off. Catch that. Really nice. M15 conditions, high and low exhaustion, ID 50, symbol representation up against low support of trend. See if it breaks this trend to fall back through overall trend conditions of H1. Down, 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 down. 2 hits all above the male to this trend. So if this ends up breaking this, you can catch that for some decent pips, easily 20, 30 more pips until it hits. New Zealand Jap. Oh, did we look at M5 conditions? M5, low exhaustion. Okay, let's see. A lot of ID50 ranging. I like very big moves. I like the big moves. Like this up to here, just a double safety entry, not even ID50 or nothing. That's just pretty much telling you it's taken off. We've been having a lot of bounce to this support trend. New Zealand Jap. Look how clean this is. Nice fault smooth chopping right here. Came down. Direction is 20 to 50 to 200 and is locked above the 800. So your obvious intentions is trend is long. Let's see. Trend is long off H1. Let's see. M15 trend is long. So obviously you want to fall in line with your entries of this, and take your profits at these points here and re-enter when the market's back in line with trend. That's simple. Very simple. Okay, New Zealand USD. Look at these nice bounces. Boom. In line with trend, take your profit. If you want to take the counter trend trade back to trend condition, take your profit, re-enter, take your profit. I mean, look at this, these hits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This would represent that same hit, really. Really nice. Nice stuff. Simplicity is the key. Once you have the knowledge of what you're comfortable with and have confidence in the method you are learning, you then convert your knowledge into simplicity. And that is the reason I created my indicator. I truly believe in Beat the Market Maker method and that the institutions are in control of market direction. Retail traders have no pull whatsoever controlling price in the market, in my opinion. Their contracts are just too small. Institutions deal with 1 to 500 million or even $1 billion per contract to move the market, and that's what moves the market. So you got to be in line with the game that they play, and that's pretty much it. It can be that easy to understand. Okay, we've got a lot of ranging. This is a high exhaustion. It's in the middle of trying to break trend line conditions. M15 is running off a previous high. Had a low exhaustion, but it's fading into locking everything up tightly on EMAs. So you gotta wait for a pull away one way or the other. Looks like it'll probably drop below the 800. It's dropped below already. So let's see if this breaks trend to continue to downfall. Great Britain CAD. We got some nice low exhaustion, really supporting this trend condition here, but I believe it will break and hit day range low before it rises. Let's see. Okay. Okay, look at these nice low exhaustion, very little drawdown. You don't want to enter gap time anyway, so if you wanted to re-enter, you could have just kept this right there. Little swap pay, come up to here, take profit, re-enter, take your profit down in this range. New Zealand CAD. Conditions of H1 trend. Down. Down, 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 down. Okay. M15. Down, 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 down. Look at all these hits to the 800. Very nice. Very nice. And we did have a change, a shift, a trend in this area. As you can see, the 50, 200 is crossing the 800. Did drop up high. Nice push. Very nice push. A small push, false breakout move. Re-hit that. Fall in line with the previous condition here. nicely trapping over here. So we got this exhaustion supporting the conditions here. The 50 and 200 has crossed below. Could be a good setup for a trap for short traders, and they might want to just take it out of there. It could be a W under the blueberry. With USD Max, very nice. High exhaustion. Look at the trend. Support of the trend. Support of the trend. Your exhaustion's down here and follows through nicely. Let's look at H1. Oh yeah, nice high hit here. Low here with your ID safety. Very nice push right through all the EMAs immediately. That was a nice. I'm surprised I missed that trade. You got nice ranging of tip possibilities in these ranging areas. Let's see what we got for. There's nice action here. Of course, low, exhaustion high. Stay in line with trend, of course, so you always want to take these hits as much as possible. Got all these hits too. You know, this very low exhaustion as all these gap between the EMAs widen up nicely. You do have your finger exhaustion. I do safety entry right here. Price never really returns back to this area until back over here. It comes back to it eventually. But this was all a trapping area of a counter trend trade based on the M15, if you remember. So you can take advantage of that opportunity in a lower time frame to grab those movements. Great Britain, New Zealand. Let's see what we got. Very nice touches to the day range high. High of, let's see, New York session started a reversal. London session met up with the previous day exhaustion, high exhaustion. Really dropped from there. You got the condition of the ID safety right up here. Okay, and if you even entered here yesterday, that would have been really good. Okay, so let's leave off with USD Chef. It did bounce off this support. So it's either got to break this trend line or bounce support again in line with trend. Okay, to follow through. We are very close to the weekly low range, remember? So I anticipate a lot of trapping movement to trap both sides of the traders if it wants to hit that level or it wants to rise. Gaps are ending up quite wide and nicely through the EMAs, which I love to see. You're pretty much 50 sitting at day low and your 800s at day high. Some really nice conditions between the gap. Okay, hope you enjoyed this version of breaking everything down to a lower time frame if you just want to trade a session or just run off the 5 minute to grab some profit quickly within the day if you're limited on time or whatnot and you just like to work one session at a time. Works quite well. You just always have to make sure you're in line with the H1 and M15 when you're doing intraday trading, most definitely. Okay, I hope you all enjoyed. If you have any questions, please contact me. Okay, have a great day. Take care.